All right, everybody, Friday afternoon, it is time to get ready for the spring moonshine weekend coming up, and I've got a lot of stuff to do in the kitchen here and a lot of stuff to do in what are you doing?
Sanitizing the table.
Yeah, it's my assistant for the day. Lucky me, huh? And well, we got some goodies we picked up. On the menu is going to be New York strip steaks. I picked up 5 really nice New York strip steaks. I've got the green bean and carrot medley with butter and a little bit of a brown sugar glaze, a little bit of salt and brown sugar glaze on that. We're also going to have potatoes au gratin, and I'm going to make some homemade bread too here today, so it's going to be a nice menu. And then for dessert, picked up a really nice, not going to have time to knock out a dessert, but a really nice lemon mousse cake, and this should be fantastic for dessert. I like the way they wrap that and everything. Give you a look at the steaks over here, and of course we have crappy rainy weather outside again, but it's supposed to be clearing later this afternoon. So we've got they were on sale regularly $14.99 for $9.99 a pound. And these should be some kind of good steaks, and Missy Jen's going to give them the secret marinade overnight. You can see how nice they look, huh? You see them, Jen? Beautiful. From Neiman Ranch, first class. So that's going to be phase 1. Jen is going to do her secret marinade. So they have basically, I don't know, 26 hours or so to marinate, and they'll be real nice. In the meantime, I'm going to start, while she's doing that, I'm going to give her some space to do that, and I'm going to, when she's all clear, got other stuff to do today, I'm going to start some bread. Like to have fresh bread tomorrow night too. For Sunday breakfast, we're going to have bacon, and I'm going to make some corn muffins, and we're also going to have eggs and orange juice. So that should be pretty good with coffee and everything. So it should be a good weekend of eats and a little bit of drink on the weekend too. And a lot of moonshining. So I got my bowl out. I'm going to start by putting like 2 cups of lukewarm water in there. I'm going to start proofing with the yeast, and I like to use the Red Star yeast. You don't want your water too hot. I'm just heating it up. I'm going to put a little bit of sugar in here to give the to start proofing this yeast. Okay, so not the hardest thing in the world, but to make a good loaf of bread, you always need to start a day or 2 ahead of time so the flavor gets really deep. Capiche? Capiche? You understand? Are you going to tell people the marinade today, your secret?
No.
Never happened.
No
spy cameras allowed either.
No spy cameras allowed. This is
like a military. This is Area 51.
This is like worse than Area 51.
This is worse than Area 51 in here.
You come too close, the camera dudes will come and take you away, and you will never be seen again.
All right. Well, I'll let you do your thing. I got the water lukewarm here. I don't want warm. I'm going to grab the yeast and a couple tablespoons of sugar. I think I've got about 2 cups of, 1.5 cups, 2 cups of water. I don't do a lot of precision when I'm baking, so. There goes our yeast, about a teaspoon of yeast there. Should be fine. Next thing I want to do is grab some sugar. And the sugar gives it a little something to exist on until we put some of the flour in. We're not going to add all the flour, and this is going to be a very, very wet. This is going to be like a batter overnight, and because it's a batter, it's going to absorb more of the wild yeast and the air around it, and it's going to have a much deeper flavor to it. And then tomorrow we'll add enough flour to stiffen it up and form a loaf. And it's going to be a very moist, not quite wet loaf, but because it's going to be a moist loaf, it's going to have a lot of air pockets in it and a lot of great flavor. So let me grab the sugar and I'm going to grab the whisk, and we're going to get this all whisked together. Isn't that nice? Woo! Nice, really good looking beef there. We're going to let that yeast proof for about 10 minutes, and then we'll add probably 3 cups of flour. And I like to use good flour. This is not a baking video, but King Arthur flour really works great. So we're just trying to get as much done today as possible, so we have time to enjoy the whole experience with our friends tomorrow. Add just about about a quarter of a cup of oil. That just gives it a little more elasticity to it. And I'm going to add a couple tablespoons of salt. Add some flour. I'll start with 2 cups. This is where you kind of need the big spoon to work that in. There we go. I love this big spoon. Work that till it's like a batter, okay? Alright, Missy Jen's gonna get something to eat and then pick up a few more provisions at the store. Alright, so she's a lady on the mission. Busy today, no mucking around, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I have on the agenda, yeah.
Yeah, so, alright.
Even non-related to any of this stuff, yeah. Yeah. Woo!
That's kind of the consistency that we're looking for. Nice wet batter like that. So let that ferment. We're going to cover that now with some foil and just let that sit. I'm going to leave a little bit of a gap on the side for the wild yeast to go in. But next we're going to come over here. I'm prepping the potatoes we're going to make a potatoes au gratin. So I'm prepping the potatoes. They're washing them real thoroughly, and then I'm going to peel them. Green beans are coming into season. Aren't they beautiful? Got some really nice ones. And I'm going to make like I said, a carrot and green bean medley with a little bit of a brown sugar glaze and salt. So that'll be really nice. I'm going to use the wok for that tomorrow. But what I want to do today is save some time and clean the beans and then have them ready to go for tomorrow. So I'm just going to wash them off very thoroughly and then prep them, cut the ends off, and dry them real good, and then have them put away for tomorrow. I'll tell you one thing, having worked in food service when I was younger at a resort, restaurants and pizza places, one of the things that I always bothered me about some other people that worked there was they never seemed to wash their hands after they used the bathroom, or didn't care too much about cleanliness. Well, I care a lot about it, so I make sure everything is scrubbed, washed thoroughly, and handled in a sanitary manner for sure. So, okay, let them soak for a couple minutes, and then we'll start prepping the beans. Voila! All nice and green and all ready to go. I'm just trying to get as much excess water off as I can. You don't want to put away wet beans, that's for sure. But it's always funny when you see Asian people, and I saw this when I lived in Hong Kong, when you see Asian people, they'll go through and they'll pick bean by bean by bean, and it's kind of amazing to see how they pick out their green beans in the market and they leave the nasty ones behind. I just grab a couple handfuls and then get home and clean out any black ones and get them But they're all prepped and ready to go, so I'm going to get a container and put them in now, and it's going to save me a lot of time tomorrow when I make the carrot and green bean glazed brown sugar medley. Are you pissed?
No.
Here comes the Princess of Norway. Has returned. She's a happy camper.
I got everything out.
Got everything we need. Good deal. All right, I'm just finished cutting the green beans to give you room to do your thing here, okay? She's got to finish that marinating. So into the fridge this goes, our beans. Like I said, that's going to save us a lot of time tomorrow. And I'm going to let Jen do her marinade thing, and then I'll be back to finish the potatoes up, okay? All right, Princess. Ooh, you got the big 1 gallon bags there, huh? All right, good for marinating meat.
Yeah.
Right, so. All right, good deal. All right, guys, let's go in and see if we can steal a peek at Missy Jen's secret recipe. She usually throws me out of the kitchen when I come in. Hi, babe. Today's. Ooh, that look was.
Look at that. Isn't that beautiful?
That's just the meat. You haven't disclosed the marinade, huh?
The secret is you put them in the bags like that, and then you put them in these glass trays.
That's not the marinade.
Well, you see the pepper, the ground pepper.
Okay, well, I'll just hang around a bit and, huh?
Hang around. You can hang around in the front room. How about that, eh?
Okay, eh? All right. Boy, that's a fine. How do you
Get out of my kitchen.
Holy shit. I heard that. All right, honey. Happy marinating. Shit.
I'm marinating my secret marinade. Get out of here.
I'm going to marinate your butt.
Get out of here.
It's been about 15 minutes. We're just going to go in and see if we can just safely sneak a peek without getting me arse handed to me here today. The hell are you doing? Huh? What are you doing? Some voodoo ritual? What the hell are you doing? What are you doing? Shaking that thing and just, what are you mumbling? Huh?
That's the secret ingredient.
What are you, a voodoo queen
It's
now?
an ancient ritual. A sacred African ritual to bless the meat to make it tender.
It's doing its job. Beautiful meat. All right, looking good. Hell of a ritual, though. You are one weird chick. But you guys already knew that. You're gonna chase me out of here again. All right, I'm leaving.
Anyways,
I'm leaving.
now you caught me. Now that you've seen part of the secret ingredient, that's the secret ingredient.
There it is, the voodoo incantation.
So here it is. This is.
All right, the meat is all prepped now.
Meat in all its glory.
Now
right
every 5 or 6 hours, Jen will just flip that over so we get good marination. So, yep, there it is, huh?
Woo.
Got some beautiful looking meat, some good marinade. So, last thing I have to do is prepare the au gratin here. Jen picked up a couple more big potatoes, so. Yep, we'll be getting to that recipe and preparing them
Those are
taters.
some really nice spuds right here.
Look at boys.
Look at the size of that spud right here.
There we go.
Woo! Yeah, bye-bye.
That's a big boy. You know us guys, we like everything big around here.
That's right.
Get that chest out. There. All right, there's the starting to. Next thing I'm going to do is slice the potatoes into nice slices for the au gratin. I'm going to keep them underwater so that they don't turn brown. And I want to make enough that we have leftovers too to enjoy. So you want to always make enough for guests that there's plenty there that it looks like you're going to have leftovers. So okay, it's just a lot more inviting. Okay, so one down. We got some more to go. Got the potatoes draining there now. They've all been cut. I'm holding one in reserve. I don't think we'll need it. I have one big, I think it's a 9 by 12, yeah, 13 by 9 here pan we're going to be using. I have backup more if I need it. So I'm going to be melting some butter and adding in some cream and milk and some cornstarch, and then putting the cheese into it once it reaches temperature. Get the cheese folded in so we have a real smooth mixture, and we're going to put that over top of the potatoes and onions that we layer in here. Okay, it'll be really easy. 1.5 cups of heavy cream, 1.5 cups of milk. Now I'm going to put in 3 good tablespoons of cornstarch, and this will help thicken things up. Okay, and then we'll pop our cheese in once we got that up to temperature. I'm using a super clean towel to make sure all the water is removed from the potatoes. Okay, very important to do that. You don't want any excess moisture. It also gives me one last chance to check the potatoes real carefully. Greased a 13 by 9 inch pan, and I also went ahead and added the 2 packages, 8 ounce each, of sharp cheddar cheese to our 1.5 cups of heavy cream and our 1.5 cups of milk. 2 teaspoons of salt, 1 teaspoon of pepper, and I'm just letting these kind of get used to each other. I've also got the cornstarch in here, so I'm going to go ahead and grab the potatoes now and put in a lower layer, and between layers I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of onion that I cut up in there too to give a little extra flavor punch. Make sure your hands are really washed thoroughly. Okay, put a layer on the bottom there. You have some thicker ones, stick them on the bottom. It's kind of hard to get stuff uniform when you're cutting it, but do the best you can. If you have some that are a little thicker, stick them on the bottom. The heat will get to them, help them a little bit more. Now we're going to do a sort of between ones here. Put them on. This is fun, right? Just like so. And then we're going to take a little bit of onion, sprinkle that in there, just a tad to sort of spike it up a little bit. We're going to go ahead and deal out our next layer here. We're trying to make sure there's some room. You want to make sure you don't want to stack them directly on top of each other. You want to make sure there's room so when you pour the sauce over it, it's all going to go down and permeate below. That's really important. Okay, a little more onion on there. Okay, some more layers. Again, try to move it so that they're not directly on top of each other, so there's kind of gaps between, so that the cream and everything can go down in there. It's very important. You want that definitely to be able to move down. That's why the onions are good. They give you a little bit of lift on top. Okay. Nice, starty, looking good, isn't it? Hadn't even hit the oven yet. Okay, we can put that to the back, and you'll notice I put some of them around the edges too, just to help hold in so there's no overspill or anything. And, okay, so I'm gonna put that to the back, and now we're gonna bring our sauce forward. And it's been sitting there just grabbing heat from just the iron on the top of the stove. So we're going to go ahead and put the heat to it now. We're going to stir constantly. We don't want any kind of problems, lumpiness, or anything like that. We want a really smooth mixture to go on, okay? So when it's ready to go, we'll get you back in here to watch me pour it on. Make sure to stir that constantly. It's just about reached the set point now where it's thickening. All the cheese is now melted. And our cornstarch is starting to thicken up the mix. Does that look beautiful? Nice and silky, no lumps. Just keep it moving, that's the key. Don't give time for anything to burn or scorch. That's a nice, beautiful, thick sauce now, and that's about as thick as that's going to get. So now we're going to go ahead and just sit that over here for a second. Pull that forward. We're just going to pour our sauce on there just like so. Get it all over. It's got a long way to go to the bottom there. Get all of that goodness. And it will all make its way down below there. Okay. My sauce was a bit too thick, so it wasn't going down. So all I did was simply take a bigger pan, which is a wok for me, and I put a little bit of cream in, poured all the au gratin into the bigger pan, put a little more cream in, and just spread the cheese all over, so we'll have a really good distribution on the cheese now. So sometimes it's hard to gauge when you're kind of trying to adjust the recipe for more people, but this should be perfect, and tomorrow this will bake up beautifully. Yeah, that's more like it. So I want a good even coating there on everything. And these will naturally be arranged so that they're allowing some space between. So there's always a way to fix something if you think that something might be a little problematic. Just use your brain a little bit and make an adjustment just like so. And that's going to be some excellent eating tomorrow. So I'm just spreading that out a little bit. Now that is ready to go. That's going to go for about an hour to an hour and a half tomorrow. That sauce is, that sauce is yummy. Alright. So what I'm going to do now is thoroughly grab a paper towel, dry my hands just for interim. Then I'm going to wash them thoroughly, clean this up a little bit, and put it in the fridge. Spread them, maybe do a little more spreading. And then tomorrow, all I have to do, about an hour and a half before we're going to eat, all I have to do is throw it into a 400-degree oven for about an hour and an hour and a half, and this should be spectacular, okay? Everything's evenly coated. The sauce tastes fantastic. This should be a heck of a dish. What I did was also add about 3 tablespoons of milk, so that would settle down there and allow that to give some steaming tomorrow when this is cooking. Just a little bit of extra liquid there, so as it's cooking in the pan, here comes the boss, that steam will rise and help cook in the middle. So there's our potatoes all gratin ready to go for tomorrow. Boss approved. Good. I think this pretty much concludes our food preps. Jen has the beef all set to go. We got the bread started. We got the potatoes all gratin. We got the green beans cut. Woo! I'd say this concludes this video. All right, everybody. See you when we go to load up the still. This will be video number 2.